Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you a little draft recap from my main league. We just drafted on, Friday, September 2nd. We did it on NFL.com. Non-PPR league, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and we do have a kicker and a defense as well, just because this is the 10th year of the league, and we started the league when we were kind of young with a kicker and a defense. So we just kind of keep it for tradition's sake. But I had the first overall pick in the League of Bros. That is my main league. Like I said, 10 years running. And with that pick, I took Jonathan Taylor. I think he's pretty much the consensus first overall pick. A lot of people lean Christian McCaffrey just because if he's healthy, when he's on the field, he's the best player in fantasy, even in a non-PPR league. But I just went a little bit safer because with my earlier round picks, I try to stay a little bit safer. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor still has crazy upside, but the first round is a place where you can really lose your draft if you take the wrong player, which is ironic because I feel like a lot of times I have the first overall pick in this league and they get hurt or something. Like I think I had David Johnson when he missed the season. I think I took him first overall. I took McCaffrey 2 years ago, I think. I looked back. I also drafted Lev Bell first overall in 2015, which is when he played 6 games. And Arian Foster first overall in 2013, when he only played 8 games and scored 1 rushing touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown. Oh yeah, and I also took Saquon Barkley first overall in 2019 when he had like his first kind of down year. And he had barely 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, missed a few games. It was pretty fun. I'm pretty sure I had the first overall pick like 7 out of 10 years, including this year. And a couple times it worked out, but for the most part, the player was a bust. The first overall pick normally doesn't work out for me, so hopefully this year is different, especially because I'm in 3 leagues right now. I will be in 4, but as of now, in 3 of my 3 leagues, redraft auction, this redraft, snake draft, and my dynasty league, I have Jonathan Taylor in all of them. So I'm very heavily invested in Jonathan Taylor, but moving along the draft, McCaffrey, Eckler, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Leonard Fournette. So before the draft, I had the choice of picking the 1st or the 10th pick because we randomized our names, and then that was the order that we got to pick our draft spot. So I went with the first overall pick. I was actually the second to last person to be able to pick their spot. So to still get the first overall pick, I didn't hate drafting from that spot. And I did a lot of mock drafts to prepare for this draft. So pro tip, definitely do some mock drafts from your draft selection that you have coming up, and preferably on the platform that you are going to be drafting from. So this draft was on NFL.com, and I did a lot of mock drafts on the NFL website, even though their mock drafts are pretty terrible. Najee Harris went 10th, Jamar Chase 11th, Stephon Diggs 12th. And then in the second round, we got Barkley, Kamara, Adams, DeAndre Swift, Travis Kelce. And as my pick is coming up here in the second round, I was hoping that Aaron Jones, Deebo Samuel, maybe even Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, Mark Andrews got to me. But in all of the mock drafts that I did, or a lot of them at least, Javonte Williams seemed to always get back to me in the second round. I thought that that would not happen just because I know that there are some Javonte Williams truthers in the league. I know Bo right here is a big Javonte Williams guy, but he did make it all the way back to me at the end of the second round. And one player that sometimes did fall to me as well in some of my mock drafts was Tyreek Hill. I did a couple mock drafts for videos. I think he fell to me in one that I didn't put out as a video. I just did as practice. But listen, one thing that I learned from this draft is you can't get married to positive or negative feelings about a player. Like, obviously, yes, if you hate a player, you probably won't take them at their ADP. But for example, Tyreek Hill leaving the Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and going to the Miami Dolphins, that is not an ideal scenario, right? So going into the draft, I'm thinking, Tyreek Hill is probably someone I'm not targeting. But his ADP reflects that change. I got him in the 3rd round. If you look at last year's ADP, where was Tyreek Hill? He went 11th overall on average in standard scoring, which is what this league is, non-PPR, as the wide receiver 2 off the board. I don't know what wide receiver he went off the board in this league, but I definitely got him at a discount. And even if he doesn't put up the crazy numbers that he has over the years in Kansas City, with the running backs that I was able to start the draft with Jonathan Taylor and Javonte Williams, I am more than fine with Tyreek as my wide receiver 1. If Mark Andrews would have fell, I probably would have gone Andrews, just because I rode him to a championship last year, pause, and I think he just that positional advantage. He's one of the couple tight ends in the league that I think is a true elite advantage, that being Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. So I went with Javonte Williams and Tyreek Hill, Kyle Pitts, and keep in mind, guys, I made a tight end pick later in this draft that he's one of my favorite tight end picks to make, and apparently my league is full of haters of this player, but I just think it's funny that this person right here took Kyle Pitts in the third. I would much rather have my value tight end pick later. I know a lot of times we get in our minds that you either take a tight end super early or you just punt the position, right? To me, I would rather take my value at tight end than taking Kyle Pitts in the third, because I think Kyle Pitts, as good as he is, the offense is going to be a little shaky at best with Marcus Mariota. No Calvin Ridley. Obviously, Kyle Pitts will see targets, and he's an incredibly talented player, and he'll probably be fine for fantasy. But just you have to pay a third-round pick for him, right? So you can get, David Montgomery, Mike Evans, Mike Williams, A.J. Brown, James Conner, Pittman, Higgins, Keenan Allen, proven, actually amazing players that you need multiple of. So you need at least 2 running backs, at least 2 wide receivers in your lineup each and every week. So, and that's who went off the board after my picks: Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. I typically don't get Allen and Herbert just because I typically wait a little bit on quarterback. And you'll see that there is a range of quarterbacks that I like later, but I wasn't able to snag any just because I had the first overall pick. It's hard to play the ADP game when you have the first overall pick because you make 2 picks in a row and then you got to wait forever to get your pick back to you. This is a 12-team league, so I had a long time to wait. Hollywood Brown, Travis Etienne, Mahomes. I'm not a fan of the Mahomes pick this early either. Obviously, he's a great quarterback, but losing Tyreek Hill, the offense is going to look a lot different. He's got Travis Kelce, Juju, McCole Hardman, Sky Moore, MVS. Is that going to be enough? I'm sure he'll be fine for fantasy, but this early, I think you're better off waiting on a guy who you can get a little bit later, a better value. Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Gabe Davis, Darren Waller. Again, I like my value tight end better than Darren Waller. Waller might be better, but even last year, without Devontae Adams, Waller had a hot week 1, and after that, he kind of struggled. I think people might forget that. Now Devontae Adams is there. Will Waller be good for fantasy? He'll probably be good, but is he worth this early of a pick? That remains to be seen. Allen Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece Hall. And then remember what I said earlier about Tyreek Hill, how you might not love a player overall, but at their value, you have to take them. That is exactly how I feel with DK Metcalf. I feel like I'm getting him in every mock draft I do, in every real draft I do. I'll probably do an auction. We had an auction draft as well the same night, and I got DK Metcalf in that league as well. I'll probably do a video on that also. But DK Metcalf, even last year, where did he go? This is last year's ADP. DK Metcalf went, I think I passed him. There he is. 18th overall as the wide receiver 4 off the board. Last year with Russell Wilson, I wasn't even bought into that. I was like, that's too high. He loses Russell Wilson, and his draft position plummets all the way. What round is this? 4th round? This is 4th round, right? I got him 48th overall. End of the 4th, beginning of the 5th. So at that ADP, he might, just with Geno Smith or Drew Lock at quarterback, he might not have his best season, but as my wide receiver 2 in the 4th round, I like that. Especially when I'm able to pair him with Courtland Sutton, who I think might be the best wide receiver on my team. I know Bo, the guy that I said liked Javonte Williams, might be watching this, Bo. He likes Courtland Sutton as well. Obviously, I wouldn't draft him over Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill has a new offense, and I still think Tyreek Hill is my number 1 receiver, but Courtland Sutton with Russell Wilson coming in. It's kind of funny. He lost DK Metcalf. He lost Russell Wilson. He gained Russell Wilson, and here they are, back-to-back picks. Courtland Sutton has been a little bit disappointing throughout his career, whether it's quarterback issues or injury, but I think he's talented. And with Russell Wilson, I think he and Jerry Jeudy will have tremendous success for the Denver Broncos. So, I think my wide receiver core is amazing. With Sutton as my wide receiver 3, it's hard to get much better than that. Cam Akers, that's a pick that makes me a little nervous just because coming off the injury. I think it'll be a bit of a committee in LA. I don't think he'll get a huge workload. We got Lamar Jackson, George Kittle. George Kittle, if he stays healthy, he'll probably be a value, but I have him in Dynasty. He makes me a little nervous, but I kind of like my value pick a little bit better, and I'll get to him in a little bit here. Juju, but we're getting to this range where around this spot, I was debating, do I take, one of these rushing quarterbacks that goes around this range? Lamar Jackson was one of them. We got A.J. Dillon, Jalen Waddle, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, who makes me nervous, Elijah Mitchell, who makes me nervous. Kyler Murray is one of those other rushing quarterbacks I considered taking earlier. Brandon Cooks I considered earlier over a Metcalf or a Courtland Sutton. Brandon Cooks is one of my favorite values, but I leaned the upside of Metcalf and Courtland Sutton. But he's a tremendous value. Brandon Cooks is always underrated. Jerry Jeudy, Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, Jalen Hurts is the other rushing quarterback that I considered. If my draft spot was a little bit later and some of those wide receivers were off the board, I probably would have gone Lamar, Kyler, or Jalen Hurts. But just with who was on the board, I couldn't sacrifice that wide receiver advantage, the depth that I have now, by taking one of those quarterbacks. Tony Pollard, Dallas Goedert, who I think is a pretty good value. But going that close to George Kittle, it'll come down to health probably. Josh Jacobs, Rashad Penny, Cordero Patterson, Adam Thielen, who's always underrated. And then this is my value tight end pick. If anyone in my league is watching this, you can suck it. He's going to be the best draft pick in the whole draft. I went Dalton Schultz of the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, he was a tight end 3. And listen, I had a lot of people telling me like, oh, he was so far behind Andrews and Kelsey. Listen, maybe he doesn't put up the season that Mark Andrews had last year. But if he even does the same thing as last year and finishes as a tight end 3, I am happy with that here this late in the draft. How many tight ends went before Dalton Schultz? Like, what? Kittle, Waller, Pitts, Goddard, Andrews, Kelsey, at least 6. I might be forgetting some. I got him as a tight end 7 off the board. He was a tight end 3 last year or something like that. It depends on your scoring, maybe. He might have been the tight end 3 across the board. I'm not sure. But regardless, he had a great year. And listen, a lot of his points fluctuated with targets on his team coming and going, but Amari Cooper is gone. Michael Gallup is not healthy to start the season, and the Cowboys are going to score points. I believe they had the most points in the league last year. A lot of that was because of their defense scoring a lot of points, but still, this offense is going to be at least pretty good, if not great. And Dalton Schultz might be the number 2 target to start the season. Once Gallup comes back, he'll be the 2/3. And in a Dak Prescott-led offense, I like that. I took Darnell Mooney next. I just think he's going to see tons of volume. Obviously, the offense in Chicago is probably going to be pretty bad unless Justin Fields takes a tremendous step forward. But he's the only target there. It's him, David Montgomery, and Cole Kmet, who's another value tight end that I like late if I didn't get Dalton Schultz. I did consider Chase Edmonds, and I did consider Kareem Hunt here. Kareem Hunt and Chase Edmonds are 2 of my favorite running back values. I unfortunately did not get them in any of my drafts, but I feel happy for the teams that did. So we got Chase Edmonds, Amari Cooper, Rashad Bateman, Russell Wilson, Robert Woods, Joe Burrow, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, TJ Hawkinson, Drake London, Elijah Moore, Devin Singletary. Like, for example, Kareem Hunt and Chase Edmonds only going a few picks before Devin Singletary. I think that's just ridiculous. Obviously, Singletary ended the year hot last season, but I don't think he'll see any work in the passing game. I think James Cook is going to take over that role. He'll have his weeks, but Josh Allen alone is enough to steal red zone work from Singletary. He'll probably be a between the 20s guy, get you a handful of points, and be kind of mid. Ayuk, Dolphins defense way too early. That could have been an auto draft. I'm not sure. That was an auto draft. I don't know why it auto drafted the Dolphins. That's kind of strange. But Damian Harris, Antonio Gibson, how the mighty have fallen. Chris Olave, Dak Prescott, Alan Lazard, Tom Brady. And this is why I'm saying, guys, you could probably wait on quarterback versus spending, second and third round pick on one of those top guys. You can get one of those, rushing upside guys around the range of Kyler, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson, kind of in the middle rounds, or you can wait for Dak, Tom Brady, someone like that. Trey Lance, who's got some insane upside. Devontae Smith, Rhamondre Stevenson, Miles Sanders, Melvin Gordon, who I think is a great value. So Rhamondre Stevenson and Miles Sanders, I just wanted some exposure to Stevenson just because he's a good player. It's going to be him and Damian Harris. I think Stevenson will be involved in this Patriots offense. I believe Damian Harris is on the last year of his contract. So I think that's more of a dynasty point, I guess. But long story short, I think this team likes Stevenson. I think Harris will be gone next year, and I think they're confident with Stevenson moving forward. So I think they'll be confident giving him the ball this year. No James White, no Brandon Bolden, or all those, pass catching guys. Stevenson might be their main pass catching running back. And then Miles Sanders, He makes me nervous. I probably should have taken Melvin Gordon, but I already had Javonte Williams, so I was like, don't want to limit my upside. Tyler Lockett, Julio Jones, Kadarius Toney, another really good value. Or, I mean, if he pans out, this is the type of pick that could, like, really win you a league. Because Kadarius Toney, he's had his ups and downs, but if he's on and he hits, he'll be a great pick. Hunter Renfrow, Dawson Knox, Christian Kirk, Aaron Rodgers. It's weird to see him this late, but he lost to Devontae Adams and MVS. So Allen Lazard is probably his number one target. Justin Tucker, the auto draft, I believe, again, at least giving him the best kicker. Kenneth Walker, Darrell Henderson, Mike Davis, James Cook, Russell Gage, Isaiah Pacheco, Sky Moore, Alexander Madison, George Pickens, Naheem Hines, Zach Ertz, who is another great value at tight end, especially with Hopkins missing the first 6 weeks. Ertz is going to see targets. Michael Carter, Stafford, and then one of my favorite quarterback values in all of fantasy is Kirk Cousins. He's usually pretty good for fantasy, and now he lost the defensive-minded coach of Mike Zimmer. They bring in Kevin O'Connell. Skull Vikings. I think this offense is going to be amazing with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborn, Irv Smith if he can finally stay healthy, and then obviously Dalvin Cook. I think this offense is going to put up tons of points. Our defense might be better than how horrible it was last year, but I don't think it's going to be elite. So the Vikings are going to have to put up points, and I think this team is going to play to win, not play not to lose. So even if we get like a 3-point lead, I don't expect us to just run the ball, for a yard and a cloud of dust and just punt it back and give up a lead, right? I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a great year. He doesn't rush the ball, so his upside is a little bit limited, but, well over 4,000 yards, even like 40 touchdowns. I don't think that's out of the range of possibilities for Kirk Cousins, who at this point is a little bit underrated, I would say. I know Kirk Cousins gets a lot of hate, and maybe some of that is deserved, but I think at the end of the day, I think he's a good quarterback, and in this offense, I think he'll be put in a position to succeed. So with him as my quarterback, obviously I'd rather have a guy like, Josh Allen, but I'm getting him with the 120th overall pick, versus the second or third round. So with that value, I'll take that. Chase Claypool, I have a love-hate relationship with Claypool. I traded Debo for Chase Claypool in Dynasty, and that obviously didn't work out. That was before Debo broke out. But if he's a talented player. If, Trubisky or Pickett can get him the ball downfield, something that Big Ben was not able to do, mostly because he was throwing the ball half a second after it was snapped. If Claypool's able to get some downfield targets, I think he'll be good. And he had like no touchdowns last year. So if he can get in the end zone a little bit more, he might be a solid depth wide receiver. Kenneth Gainwell, who if Miles Sanders can't do anything, Gainwell might be a good pick. Michael Gallup, once he comes back, he should be good. Derek Carr, Tua. And this is where I think there's a bit of a tier break. You go Stafford, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Tua. I like Tua as a sleeper just because of his weapons, but Kirk Cousins has done it before. Derek Carr, it's a struggle for him to throw 30 touchdowns. Maybe he'll throw 30 touchdowns this year with Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, but Kirk Cousins has already done that. Stafford, he's a great player. He can put up some big numbers. So I was really glad I was able to get Cousins here because I feel like there was definitely a tier break after him. We went MVS, James Robinson, Tyler Algier, Treylon Burks, Brian Robinson, David Njoku, Rondale Moore, Jahan Dotson, Pat Freiermuth, who might be a nice little value there. There's a lot. I don't know. Usually, I don't like the tight ends like in the middle to late rounds, but I feel like they won't be good. Tight ends are never good, but I just feel like a lot of these guys are good values. Like Pat Freiermuth might not be amazing, but with the 134th pick, I think you can do worse. Isaiah McKenzie, Christian Watson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Khalil Herbert, Jarvis Landry, Romeo Doubs, J.D. McKissick, Cole Kmet. That's a crazy value. He's going to see targets. Every time there's a tight end, I'm just going to say they're a value. Okay, so Cole Kmet, crazy value. Colts D, Garrett Wilson. So yeah, at this point, the draft is getting very thin. I took Garrett Wilson and Jalen Tolbert. I already dropped Jalen Tolbert for Matt Gay, kicker of the Rams. He might see targets just with the Gallup injury. And Garrett Wilson, talented rookie prospect. Both of these are rookies. Rookies often don't start the year hot, so who knows what I do with Garrett Wilson. Do I hold him? Do I cut him? We'll see. It depends who's on the waiver wire and how he does week one. But this offense, the Jets offense, is a little bit scary. Lots of talented players, but the quarterback position is a question mark. So yeah, not much to say about that. But I went with them over a guy like Tyler Boyd because at this late in the draft, I like to go a little bit with upside. So Tyler Boyd behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. he's not going to be, he might have a good week, but how likely is he to be in my lineup? But if Garrett Wilson comes out and it's just, Odell Beckham rookie year, Jamar Chase rookie year, Jefferson rookie year, which won't happen, but if he is, at least I have that upside, right? Jameis, Rams D, Jamal Williams, McCole Hardman, Rashad White, Paris Campbell, Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence, Nico Collins, Buffalo Bills, Alberto, Gerald Everett. Good values at tight end here. Josh Palmer, Ronald Jones. Is he like the running back 4 for the Chiefs right now? He's behind McKinnon, CEH, Pacheco, probably even at this point. I think I dropped Ronald Jones in our 30-man dynasty league, so I don't know if he should even be rostered here. A lot of injuries would have to go his way for him to be relevant, in my opinion. 49ers D, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, Pats D, Mason Crosby, Chargers defense, Mike Gesicki, Justin Fields. Normally I don't advise you to take 2 quarterbacks, but this is a little bit deeper league, I guess. And there wasn't really anyone else that got me going. And I think just because I took Kirk Cousins, I think he'll be good. Is he going to be like the number 1 overall quarterback though? No. So I figured I'll take a shot on Justin Fields, see what happens week 1. He had a down rookie season, but sometimes people turn it around in their second year. I'm not necessarily putting my money on it, but he has rushing upside. So if he comes out and has a great week 1, maybe I keep him, maybe I trade him in a package or something. If not, he's someone I can always cut. And KJ Osborn, I think he's a value. I think the Vikings could run some 3 wide receiver sets with this new offensive-minded head coach. And if anything were to happen to Jefferson, or probably more likely Adam Thielen, just because Thielen usually misses a few games here and there, he's getting older, KJ Osborn will be a hot waiver wire pickup. And even as a wide receiver 3, he'll have his weeks. He probably won't be in my lineup any of those weeks, but I think he'll put up some big numbers. And we're from Minnesota, so his value is a little bit higher than most other leagues. So if he has a big week, I can probably flip him for freaking Jamar Chase if he has a down week. You know what I'm saying? We got Kenny Galladay, Younghoe Koo, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Bass, whatever, Samaje Perine, Daniel Carlson. Vikings fans, we don't talk about him. Raheem Mostert, Curtis Samuel, Isaiah Spiller, Tampa Bay D, Brian Edwards, Zach Moss, Butker, Hunter Henry, Suckup, Jameson Williams, Cowboys D, Matt Prater, Robert Tonyan, Marvin Jones, Zamir White, Nick Folk, and I took the Denver Broncos defense with my last pick. I think the Broncos have a talented defense, and week 1 they play the Seattle Seahawks. It's a revenge game for Russell Wilson. I think the Broncos will win by a lot. I think the offense for the Broncos will lead the way, but obviously I think once the Broncos have a lead, they'll be able to just rush the quarterback all game, get to Geno Smith, maybe get some interceptions late, as it's a predictable game script. And then they play the Houston Texans. So they kind of have a nice little start to the season, and they're a talented defense. So I figured, you know what? I'll pick them up. And yeah, that is our draft. And here is a complete look at my team. I think I have one of the strongest teams in the league. This is a 12-team league. I have arguably the number 1 player in fantasy, Javonte Williams, who, even though, Melvin Gordon is still there in Denver, I think, a lot of running backs have at least one other guy in the backfield. Even if it's, let's say, a 50-50 split, obviously it limits his upside, but I think Javonte Williams is talented enough where he'll still be good. And I think he'll get more than a 50-50 split. I think it'll be, 60-40, maybe even 70-30. And who knows, as the season goes along, maybe Javonte Williams takes over more of that backfield. Or if Melvin Gordon goes down with an injury, which, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you never know. It's baked into his upside, right? Javonte Williams as the lone guy there with the Russell Wilson-led offense, I think that offense is going to be insane. It's reminiscent of Peyton Manning coming to town. So I love this start at running back, especially to get him at the end of the second. And like I said, same thing with Tyreek Hill and DK Metcalf. If they were going where they went last year, I wouldn't be about it. If Javonte Williams was a first-round pick, I don't know if I'd love it as much. But I got him at the end of the second round, the last pick of the second round, so I'm all about that. Wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, Metcalf, and Courtland Sutton. With Darnell Mooney coming off the bench, took some shots on Claypool and Darnell Mooney. That's fine. JT and Javonte Williams, that's amazing. After that, I'm hoping... Listen, Rhamondre Stevenson is a running back 3. I don't hate it. I could have taken another running back earlier and been even more solid there. But we'll see. You don't win your entire league at the draft. This roster is going to completely change. I'm going to be wrong about so many of these players, and you have to realize that as a fantasy player, you're going to be wrong a lot of the times. Even if a player is talented like Chase Claypool, it might not work out, right? So you're not the coach. You're not making the decisions. Something will go wrong. So you got to make sure you monitor the waiver wire and stay up to date with the news. I really like this draft. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, this is a 12-team non-PPR one quarterback league. I think this draft went about as well as I could imagine. I'm usually pretty good at predicting if my team's going to be good in this league. And I think I have definitely a playoff team at minimum. Yeah, this is the team, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.